On this video, we can see right here Natalie Hakala, a former collegiate athlete, an incredible human being and soul. Natalie has been working extremely hard in the past few months because she's been called now the long hauler because of COVID-19. It's been a rough scenario for her in the last few months, but she's still working very hard, and her mindset is extremely strong, which is the most important part right here. Natalie is going to share with you guys part of her career at the collegiate level, how she got into the university, and most important, she's going to share with us the information on COVID-19 and what has been the recovery for her for the last 6 months. Take a look, and please share this episode with anyone that might need it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel on our podcast and iTunes and Spotify. Thank you so very much, Natalie, to be with us in College Recruiting Mindset podcast. Extremely excited to have you as a guest. I want to get to know you more personally, as I mentioned before, and most important, to get to know your story on what happened with you on COVID-19. It's unfortunately what happened to you because you're extremely good athlete, and I know you pursuing records in the schools, and I saw your record actually on the university that you have. You have an unbelievable record right there. But you graduated already, is that correct?
Yes, I did. I graduated May 2020, so I've been out of school for almost a full year now.
Oh, almost a full year. So excellent. Yeah. So you're a former collegiate athlete then. But before we talk about, everything that happens to you after COVID-19, and I want to bring this knowledge and this information to student athletes because it is important for them to get to know more how serious the pandemic that we have, on the national and the globally, literally. And then we see, unfortunately, we see some people up there where they're not taking care of themselves that well. And we see a lot of showcases. We see a lot of sports events still, especially here in Phoenix, where we have thousands of athletes coming from California, that's where you're from. You're from Oregon, excuse me. I
went to school in California.
You went to school in California. But Natalie is a former collegiate athlete. So Natalie, talk to me about your experience, at the collegiate level, how you got to that school. It's a Concordia University, is that correct?
Yes. I was a senior in high school, and I honestly I was like applying to a bunch of schools, and I emailed and reached out to a lot of coaches because I was in a unique case where I was injured my senior year. Of high school. So I actually hadn't seriously competed since I was a junior. And so my times weren't as fast as I had wanted them to be. The fastest I had ran in high school was 220. 220. And I wanted
400s, correct? 400?
In the 800.
800. 800.
I do the 800. So my fastest time in high school was 220. And I had goals to run much faster than that, but that just did not happen. And I ran that as a sophomore. So I kind of plateaued my sophomore year, and I would go on these recruiting trips, and I couldn't go on the runs with the team because I had a bilateral hip injury. So I kept straining my hip flexors. They weren't able to pick up in the correct manner. And if your hips are supposed to sit right next to each other, mine tended to go up and forward. So I'd be kind of rotated. So I had to see a lot of chiropractors and acupuncturists. So going into college, I was very injured. I'd seen a lot of physical therapists, and I just was not improving to the point where I could run competitively. So I was extremely nervous going on recruiting trips, and just the object of starting college and running again was super nerve-wracking for me. And
So
I went
how
down.
many trips you did when you went to the college, showcases or the recruiting? How many did you went actually? They are in Oregon, or you went out of state?
For my recruiting trips, I went, let's see, to like probably 2 or 3 in Oregon, and like 3 in California.
3 in California. Okay. And then from there, do the coaches get to see you and approach you? How was the
because I was a senior.
Okay.
Yes, I was able to, let's see, how did I do it? I had reached out to most of them.
Okay.
And on like their online survey thing that they ask, like, because track is very straightforward. It's what are your times? What do you do?
Yes.
Yeah. So because my time was relatively decent for a high schooler, it was easy to get coaches to reach back out to me. But then they saw I ran it as a sophomore, and that's when my challenge with the recruiting process was because I felt like I didn't have anything to back up that I could keep running those times, if that makes sense. So like that was my insecurity, and my like main worry as a senior. So I went on college campuses, and I got a feel for like, the thing that I was looking for was like a place where like I would have like a good relationship with me and my coach and my teammates. I wanted another thing like I had in high school, because my high school experience was amazing. My coach, Chase Wells, made an environment that was meant to make you to keep running and wanted you to be have a long career. He wasn't trying just to push you and push you and push you just to be good in high school. He wanted you to be good for your whole life. Which is really hard in the running community, because it's easy to like just push with all those miles adding up. And Chase was not like that. He was super helpful with my injury and like tried different mechanisms to like help me improve. So I was very fortunate, and I wanted somebody like Chase again. So I kind of knew what I was looking for and what I was like wanting when I went on my recruiting trips, was someone who put me as an athlete and as a person first, and not just you're another number, you're another.
In the school, the high school that you went to is Marriage Catholic High School, correct? In Oregon. Okay. Yes. And so your coach was a very good mentor for you. So you want to kind of like follow that path at the collegiate level.
Yes, I did.
Did you approach what kind of divisions you approach? You try to approach Division I's, Division II?
I did Division I's, Division II's, Division III's, and I think an NAIA school, honestly. I wasn't really concerned with the division. I wanted to find a fit for me. So I wasn't the kind of person looking for, I have to go D1 or you know what I mean? Like I just wanted somewhere that felt like home. And so I went, I believe on a recruiting trip to, I can't remember it was St. Mary's, which is a D1 school.
Okay.
And I went on a recruiting trip down there, which is in Northern California. And they were my favorite school by far. I loved that school. It was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the school for me. And I went and met with the coaches, and they were super nice. And I thought, I was like, I could like see myself here. Like, I think this could be it. And then I got the financial aid package back, and it was way more expensive than I wanted to do, because I was taking out a bunch of loans.
Okay.
And I was trying to take the least amount of loans to no loans out if I could.
Well, that's exactly why I created the service, the recruiting service.
Yeah.
Recruiting, because, if you have the variety of schools approaching you, you went into senior year, which is okay,
I did some my junior year, but I didn't really start. I think I did recruiting my junior and senior, but like it was primarily like my early senior year.
Yeah. Like you say, track is very straightforward, because it's about the numbers that the time that you do, even if you do the 400, the 200, the 800s like yourself, right? Yeah. It's about, the time. But, it's a very good recommendation, because this is something that I want to
encourage to kids, or to high school athletes is to, hey, let's start the process a little bit early, maybe sophomore, junior, in order for you to be a senior, you more relaxed about,
Yes.
the decision, because, in your experience, what you mentioned right now is you are a little bit stressed because you are approaching, the senior year, and it's still, having that experience. And also, so when you went to that school and then you approach, do the coach on Concordia University approach you, or you went there to the trip?
Only reason I applied to Concordia University is because I saw the one in Portland, and I was like, oh, it has a beach. It seems nice. It had free on the Common App. It had like a free, I didn't have to pay to send in my application, and I didn't have to fill anything else out. So I honestly was like, oh, what the heck? So I sent my application in before I looked at the school, before I talked to the coaches, because I was like, oh, just kind of seems right. And I, after that, sent my recruiting information to the coaches, because I was like, oh, what the heck? Like, might as well. I already applied. Like, we'll just see where it goes. And January, I get an email from their head coach. At the time, it was Danny Bowman. And he reached out and he was like, hey, we'd like to offer you a scholarship. You seem like a great kid. We'd love to have you come down and meet us. And I was like, I don't want to go that far away. I'm way too nervous. But my mom's like, just go, see what you like. You never know. And I was like,
you never know. And you went to, it's in Irvine. That's a very nice, I used to live in Orange County, so I know the area very well. So it's a very nice place where you went.
Yeah, I am from Oregon. So to me, Southern California is, originally it was like, oh, there's LA and then there's San Diego. Like there was no like in between. I didn't really travel down there. And so when I traveled down there, I was like, oh, Irvine is so nice. Like this place is fancy.
It is.
Yeah. And I go to the school, I get on campus, and the person who met me is my coach, Bloom. So Bloomfield comes up, he meets me. At the time, he was recruiting coordinator. And so he comes up, he meets me, he brings some athletes with him. And instantly, I remember thinking, dang it, I really like it here. Like, I know I'm going to really like it. I went in not wanting to like it.
That's good. See, that's a very good experience, because you're like, okay, I want to stay close to home.
Yes, I did.
You like, okay, now, well, let me, because thanks to mom, to your mom, she's like, just go to see what happens, and boom, a click. See, that's one of the things that we recommend, because there is a lot of kids that say, I know, I want to stay close home. I don't want to go far away, but it is nice for, I've been talking to a lot of coaches, and they recommend that it is nice for you just to go to the school to see how you feel. Like
it's a connection. Like you can tell. I don't know. I was on that campus and I met with, right away, I was like, oh, I'm going to like it here. I just knew it like right away, like more than I knew with any of the other schools. And I went to my recruiting.
The St. Mary's one that you mentioned before, right? The Division I.
Yeah. So I liked it more than I liked any of the other schools I looked at. It felt way more like Bloom went out of his way to make sure that I felt welcomed.
Nice.
And that was something that I hadn't experienced at other colleges. It was like, you're here to meet me, not I'm here to meet you. And he was like, I want to know you. Like, I want to meet you. And I was like totally taken aback that I was like very surprised that he was going out of his way to like want to know just like little old me. And the other coaches, it always felt like I had like, it almost felt like it was like, oh, it's an honor to come and meet with this particular coach. And it was like, but shouldn't you be wanting me as much as I want you? Like, we're supposed to be entering like a coaching relationship, and it should feel mutual. And with Bloom, it did. And it felt very welcoming. And
I'm going to have to talk to him.
You should. He's wonderful. I give 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, please do.
Yes. He's still there in Concordia.
Yes, he's now the head coach, actually.
He's the recruiting coach. Right?
The recruiting coordinator got promoted to head coach. So over my years, he slowly moved up.
Excellent.
So he's now the head coach. And he's been my coach from the very beginning, because like I said, I was injured. So when I started, I didn't really have a place on the team to train.
Okay.
So I worked with the athletic training department in Bloomfield, who had no particular athletes to coach. So he coached me one-on-one and helped me just be able to run again. We went from walking every day around the track to a walk and a jog for 10 meters, and then walk, jog, all the way up to the point where I was able to race again, compete. I qualified for conference.
Excellent.
And was the only 800 meter for my school to make it. So he did a very, very good job prioritizing me. And that's something that he's taken with him and applies to all of his athletes, even as a head coach. Like, he looks at, like, what can we do for you? And I think that's an amazing coaching philosophy of he individualizes every single person's training program, and it is wonderful to be a part of.
He didn't push you the way that is stressing you, like, okay, I want the best out of you immediately. No, he was, step by step, improving yourself in order for you to compete at a really high level, and that way he's happy, right? So that's awesome. So
he always says you're a 4-year athlete. So he's like, let's make you. He's like, my goal isn't for you to peak your freshman year and then be stuck. He's like, my goal is for you to get better and better and better and peak at your senior year where you can be your best and you can show the freshmen how to be. And I want to be able to push you to get up to that level. Beautiful. And we're going to take it 1 year at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time.
So and that's how the process went, because at the 800 you did 2:17.62. Is that correct? So
I did my junior year.
That was your junior year, and then the senior year you were able to compete on that because of COVID.
I ran 2 races. I didn't have. We did indoor, so I traveled to indoor meets for my first time.
Okay.
Because indoor tracks, are a lot smaller and they're really hard on my hips to train, like run at that. So we had avoided me running indoors for years because we were like, we don't want to.
It's not right for
your hips. It's not worth it. And we have indoor meets that are outside in California, so it's like, why not just run on the outdoor track and not injure yourself? But this year he was like, you know what? Like, let's really go for it. You're healthy enough. You've been healthy for like 3 years now. Like, I think you're ready. And I was like, sweet, me too. So I got to travel and I ran indoors, totally fine, injury free. And running indoors is different than running outdoors. So my times didn't feel very great. I was in a lot better shape, but I wasn't performing the way I wanted to. So I ran, like 3 races and then 1 outdoor race. And then we had spring break that first week of March. And we had like a mock 800 trial that we do. And it's like a time trial. And then the week after that, everything shut down. So
everything shut down. Now,
the week after that, yeah.
When you, what's the process for you to train? Like when you pick, what was your process daily? What your routine? Daily? Yeah. Take me there, because I would love to learn about you right there.
Yeah. Okay. So because I was I couldn't do as high a mileage as the rest of my teammates. That just wasn't something that my body could handle as well as other people's. So my mileage stayed within the 30 to 40 range at my peak. And on race weeks, it might dip down into the 20s sometimes even, just depending on how I was feeling. And it really was like we did try to build up.
About your 20s, what? Your 20s?
Like 20 miles a week. Like
20 miles. 20 miles a week.
Yeah. And that's my low week. So like I would get up to 40.
Oh my, I hate to run. Let me tell you, I hate to run.
And that's funny because I was the lowest one on my team. Like one of the girls on our team was running like 80-mile weeks. And I was like, I don't know how you do that. Like my legs would break. But like, that's the thing that was so nice, is that like he did prioritize like whose body can handle what and like does well with that, So I never felt pressured to run 80 miles a week. We kept me at 30 to 40 and I was perfectly happy there, did really well there. So like on workout days, if it was, let's say cross country season I did higher mileage. I would get up to like 45.
Mm-hmm.
But
so that's a daily routine of what? I mean,
like workout days, I would probably, so cross country 6 a.m. practice. So I would get up at 4:50 and head over to the athletic training room, and I would do my rolling, my heating, some stretching, and then warm-up exercises. So I had like activation stuff I would do. Sometimes I would do the bike in the morning if I didn't want to bike later in the afternoon. So yeah, because I had to bike to supplement for the less amount of mileages. So sometimes I would bike in the morning, sometimes I'd bike in the afternoon. It just kind of, it varied on my mood.
So daily, technically, you used to be how many hours on the gym training?
On the team? Ooh, with the team, probably, let's see, workout days were longer. So probably like 3 hours on workout days. Recovery runs was anywhere from like probably an hour and a half, maybe 2. So workouts, we had 3 workouts a week. So we didn't have practice Sunday. So let's see, 2, 4. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a lot. It was a lot, but like a lot of it was like my own time that I volunteered.
Oh, so you technically, okay, this is it. This is me. I go and train every day, literally. That's pretty much
we did have practice every day except for Sunday. Sundays were off days, and I took those very religiously. I did nothing on Sundays, and
relax.
Yeah, it was my day to do homework or do nothing. I told Bloom I'm not training on Sundays. Like I need the mental recap. Sometimes I do like a shakeout jog if my legs were like super stiff, but that was because I wanted to, because it would feel good for me.
So in your junior year in the university, that's when you feel at your peak pretty much as an athlete?
No, I felt my peak the week before COVID hit.
You're kidding me.
Felt good. Yeah. I had just finished a 3K the week before spring break, and I PR'd by like 15, 20 seconds in the 3K. And I felt good. Like I felt very strong.
That's a lot. I mean, 15, 20 seconds, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I dropped a lot. I was never very good at long distance. So for me to finally figure out how to race a 3K was like a big deal. That was not my strong suit at all.
Excellent. Wow. So and then COVID hit. So now let's go over a little bit on that. What happened? I know that based on the stories that we read about you, and then I heard about you, you went to a camping trip, and you feel everything was normal. You lost sensitivity of the smells, the taste, everything. So take me. I mean, I know it's not probably a good part of your, that you don't want to go over too much about it, but take me over what happened on those days.
So it was July, like that very first week of July, or last week of June when we went camping. My friends from Southern California drove up to meet me, and my friends from Washington drove down to meet me. I was like the meeting point in the middle. And we went to like this tiny little campsite. There was no one around. And all of us had been super safe. We had been isolating ourselves. So we thought we were doing all the right stuff. It wasn't like we were out partying, doing crazy stuff, and then drove up on like willy-nilly to go hang out. We had all quarantined for 2 weeks beforehand. And we weren't really doing a whole lot anyway. Like everyone worked from home except for one of us. And she worked at in a cancer ward. So she had like intensive PPE on when she went and saw patients. So it wasn't like she was likely to get it from work. So anyway, we meet in June or whenever it is, and everything goes well. We feel fine. We leave, go home, and July, let's see, Brent is the one from Washington. He started to feel ill the like Wednesday. He left on a Sunday, and then Wednesday he didn't feel well. And he was like, I'm gonna go get tested just to be safe, because I'd rather know than not know, kind of thing.
Correct.
And he's like, it's the right thing to do. Like if it is, positive. Like, I need to know as soon as possible. So he went and got tested and got worse. He wasn't having like a cough or anything, but he was having like body aches, chills. I think he said he had a fever those first few days, and a headache. And so he was like, I'll get tested just in case. Turned out positive. Because it's the 4th of July weekend, was camping with my family. So I had no cell service. And I drove into town just randomly because we needed to pick up, I don't know what we needed to grab, like hot dog buns or something like that. And I get the call from David, and he's like, hey, like, did you know your Brent has tested positive? And I was like, in the grocery store, like, I'm sorry, what now? You said what? And he's like, yeah, he's tested positive. And I was like, for COVID. He tested positive for COVID. And he's like, yes. And I was like, so that means I need to get tested. And he's like, yes.
Definitely.
But it was like 5 p.m. on Friday. So we were like, even if we drive to the nearest testing site, it'll be closed by the time we get there because we're in the middle of nowhere. So
and then you have to wait, a few hours or to get the results back.
Yeah, exactly. So we were like, you know what? Like, let's just head back to the campsite. We'll tell them, put me in my own little bubble, and we will go first thing in the morning. We'll wake up early. We'll drive down to the testing site, and we'll do it that way. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. Well, my family was like, well, if you have it, we have it. Like, we've been sharing a tent. Like, we drove up with you today. Like, if you have it, we have it. There's no way. And I was like, true, you're probably right. So I was like, oh my gosh, I like had a gut feeling I was going to test positive. I was like, I know I have it. Like, I know.
You knew already that you had it.
It's just a gut feeling. I don't know. I think it's because I had woken up a day or two before with like a headache more than I normally do. And I was like, I just know, like, there's no way I don't test positive. Cause like at that point in time, I heard it's extremely contagious. And if one person has it, everybody has it. And so I was like, oh man, here we go. So I go home the next morning with my mom, we get tested. They send us home. We get the call. I'm positive and she's negative.
Okay.
And I, at this point, just have a massive headache. My skin feels kind of funny. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I would lean back against the chair and it kind of felt like someone like is tapping up and down my back.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like almost pins and needles kind of feeling up and down, which is a very, very weird feeling. I did not like that. Then the next day I lost my sense of smell. My whole family gets tested. They're all negative. So I'm in isolation by myself.
Okay. So technically separated yourself from your family at that point. Yes.
I stayed in my room. Even within my room, I usually kept my mask on because I was so nervous I was going to get everybody sick. So I actually spent most of my time in the backyard. And I had an air mattress back there, and my parents brought out like a TV that I could cast stuff up to from my laptop. Okay. I ate all my meals outside. I used this one bathroom that it was like a single bathroom that no one went into. We put a sign on, do not enter. Okay. And I cleaned everything when I walked out.
And excuse me to interrupt you. How many people is in your household? Like, household? Yeah,
5 including me.
5 including you. So they're all negative at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
And my 2 weeks, I lost my smell. Like that first week, I lost my taste of smell, my sense of smell, taste. I had a headache almost all the time. What else did I have? That was about it for the first few days. And then I started getting body aches by the end of the first week. Into the second, I started getting a fever, chills.
And what about the rest of your friends for the camping? Like,
they were the same. They all tested positive.
They all test positive. Okay.
Well, except for one. David kept testing negative.
Okay.
I don't know why. I find that bizarre. It blows my mind. I don't know how he was positive. I mean, negative. He never tested positive.
He never did. Wow. Okay. So in the 2 weeks process, you were feeling headaches, body aches, the whole deal, and that's when everything went down, or what happened?
Yeah. So I had a fever, and there was one night where I was like, oh, I see why everyone says this is so horrible. Like it's a different kind of fever than like a flu fever. Like it's way more intense. It literally felt like I was like burning alive. And then I went back to sleep eventually, woke up, my fever had broken. I was like, great, I'll be fine. The hard part's over with, right? My quarantine's up. My family is still in quarantine because technically they're being exposed every day because I lived in the same house as them. So they had to quarantine for another 2 weeks after my 2 weeks. So they were in quarantine all of July, which sucks. So I get out and I'm kind of tired that first day out, but I was like, oh, I'll just like take it easy, go grab some stuff for my family from the grocery store, nothing crazy, feel fine. The next couple days I was like, oh, I think I'm ready to go for a run. And I just could not do it. I put on my shoes, I go outside, I grab my dog, and I make it 100, 200 yards down the street, and I'm gasping for air. And I was like, this is weird. And like my heart feels like it's thudding. And I was like, there's something wrong. Like, this is a bad idea. So I
heard that you got your heartbeat by 167, something like that.
Yeah, it went up really, really high.
And only like 100 meters, not even 200 meters, and you feel like that. That's when I feel like when I go on my bike, it's like in a high hill and trying to get to the peak, and I don't get to the peak of the high hills, and my heart is like beeping. I have to stop because I can't do anything. So you have to stop within 200 meters.
Yes.
Wow.
It's crazy. So I go back home, I do some walks, and over the week I start getting worse. I'm having chest pain following movement. It's getting harder to breathe. So I go back to my primary care, and I was like, her name's Katie. And I was like, Katie, there's something wrong with me. Like, it is hard to breathe. I don't have a cough or anything, but like, it's hard to breathe, and I'm having chest pain and I'm achy. Like, I don't know what to do. And so she gets an x-ray and she's like, oh, it looks like you have like a little bit of pneumonia. So let's just treat your pneumonia. We'll get right on it. Because I did have like on your lungs, it showed like the fluffy stuff. And she's like, it's just a little bit, it's not a lot, but like that could be causing your pain. So like, let's treat that first. So they give me a bunch of lung stuff. I'm on prednisone. I'm on, I think it's amoxicillin. No, that's not the right word. I don't remember the other one, and some other inhaler. And they load me up, and they like, okay, like, we'll just watch it. So that's July 31st when I get diagnosed with pneumonia. The weeks following that feel like
still feeling the same.
Worse. Honestly, like, I feel like it's getting worse, even though they're giving me meds to treat it.
You didn't feel yourself at all? No,
not at all. I was like, there's something wrong. Like, it feels wrong. There's like chest pain. It hurts to like, my mom was like, well, maybe like your muscles are just like super tight. So she was like, maybe you just need to like, I have like a Hypervolt at home, or like a knockoff version of it. And she's like, maybe we should just do that on your back and see if it like relaxes. And like, she couldn't even touch my back with her fingers because like my ribs were so sore, and like they could not be touched. Like, my chest wall was inflamed, and like it was very, very uncomfortable. So my mom gets home one Thursday afternoon. It was like August 10th maybe, or something around that time, like before August 10th ish. And I'm laying on the couch, just like gasping for air, like I've been running. And she's like, what did you do right before this? And I was like, I've been laying here for an hour. And she's like, time to go. We're going to the hospital, get in the car. Like, this is not normal. And at this point in time, I have a hard time speaking without running out of air. So like, every sentence in between words, I'm taking while talking. So I was not talking a whole bunch because I just couldn't get enough air in my lungs to have a conversation.
Wow.
I go to the hospital, they run a bunch of heart tests, they do x-rays over again, and they're like, your lungs are clear now, so there's no more pneumonia, like it's cleared up completely. So, but everything else is fine. Like you test completely normal for everything. We don't know why you can't breathe.
You can't.
And you're not dropping in oxygen saturation when you walk. So we have to send you home. Like there's.
And what's the average of the you know, when you exhale, like what was the break right there when they told you that? Like you losing a lot of air. How low you?
So they have like those pulse ox, so they put on your finger. And my oxygen levels were above 95. So if you're above 95, you're considered normal.
You consider normal. Yeah.
Mine was like 97. So they're like, not low, you're good. Yeah. Like,
I mean,
totally
if I take a look at my heartbeat right now, is you know, I got it of 72 right now.
I am 80.
You in 80. There you are.
Yeah. And I used to be like super low heart rate all the time too. Like I would be like resting 60s all the time. So 80 is like 20 beats higher resting than I used to be. So like to them, they're like, oh, you're 80, you're fine. And I'm like,
you're fine. Exactly.
That's not my normal though. Like they're not used to seeing extremely in shape people having like a high heart rate for me was 20 beats above my regular. But if your regular is normally like 70 and you're going up 20, they're like, oh, that is a little bit high. You know what I mean? They're expecting that. But when my resting is usually 60 and you go up 20, oh, 80, you're healthy, you're fine.
Exactly.
So they were like, okay, like all of your heart stuff's fine. Like your heart rate's a little bit like elevated, but nothing to like raise concerns. And so like, you can go home, you're fine. And I remember being like,
they send you home.
Yes, that first time they sent me home because there was nothing to keep me there. There was nothing wrong that they could identify. So they sent me home. And let's see, about a week, 2 weeks later, I wake up like at 3 a.m. with like intense chest pain. And I was like, there's something wrong. Like it feels wrong. So I go wake up my mom. They take me back to the hospital, ER, and they're like, do all the tests again. Everything's coming back normal. But this time when they do the walking test, my oxygen drops to like 90. Or I was like 88 or something like that. And so they're like, oh, that's way too low. Like we have to keep you. Only because your oxygen dropped. If my oxygen didn't drop, they would not have kept me there.
They would have sent you home. They would have sent you home again.
Wow. And they would say, follow up with a cardiologist is what they would have said.
Okay.
So they get me home or get me in the hospital. They like hook me up to all this stuff. And I will be laying in my hospital bed. You know how tiny hospital rooms are, right? So like there's the bed and then like 3 steps forward is the bathroom. So I'll be in bed. My heart rate will go, like if I'm just laying there not moving, I'd be at like 70. Then I sit up and I jump to 80. I stand all the way up and I'm at 100.
Wow.
And I walk the 3 steps to the bathroom and my heart rate is like 150, 160.
Amazing.
And they're like, okay, that's not normal. Like that's weird. Just those little movements made my heart rate jump super quickly. So they had me see a pulmonologist, a cardiologist, one of those like other doctors, and I got put in the COVID unit. So I was, you could tell people were nervous to come into the COVID unit. Some of the doctors didn't even come in. They only talked to me on the phone. Which so if you're listening to my heart and lungs, a little hard over the phone, but whatever. So that was definitely annoying.
You didn't feel safe at that time. You didn't feel safe, I imagine, right?
No, my mom got to stay with me, which makes zero sense because we were in the COVID unit, but they let my mom stay because they know that I'm not contagious anymore. but they still put me in there. It's just really weird. I had hospital policies that hadn't been updated yet. It was weird. And thankfully my mom was there because she was like, well, have you tried this med? My mom's a PA. So she was like an advocate times 10 because she could tell them like, I want to try this drug. I want to try that drug. I want you to look into this, this, and this. So I had a bunch of scans done. Everything came back normal. My VQ scan, which looks at my lungs, totally healthy.
Wow.
Totally fine. So I get started on a bunch of cardiology type drugs. They're like, okay, we'll try it, only because my mom's like literally forcing them to.
Yeah, she pushed for it very much.
She did. Yeah. She did. I end up getting it, and they end up sending me home after 4 days, I think, 3 or 4 days. And they're like, you can just follow up with us in like a couple weeks. And that's kind of, they don't know what to do with me because I'm a long hauler and they have no idea.
They have no idea.
No idea.
There is not an answer. There is not an answer of this could happen. You know, do they, I mean, they check your lungs thoroughly, like in depth, in order for them to get to know if it's the lungs or it's your heart.
Yep.
Everything. Nothing.
Nothing came back until September. I was still not feeling well. Like I felt horrible. Like I wasn't improving. I was just laying on the couch doing nothing. And I go to my cardiology appointment with a PA, and my mom was like, maybe we should do a cardiac MRI because nothing else is showing it. And some of the studies show that everything comes back normal except for the cardiac MRI. So maybe we should do that. And she's like, all right, let's do it. So they put me in a cardiac MRI, and that's the only test I had that came back abnormal. And it was because I had swelling, or what's it called? Inflammation around my heart.
Inflammation.
That none of the other stuff picked up on, but the cardiac MRI did. So they started me on some other drugs to hopefully help decrease the inflammation. My mom had them start me on cardiac rehab. So cardiac rehab is typically used for patients post heart surgery or other like heart conditions. And so it's a lot of
that's
elderly.
when they send you to where older people were right there. Yes.
Yeah. And they like hook you up to monitor and like have you walk on the treadmill. I started that in October. And I walked for 6 minutes and was done. Could not walk any farther, had to sit down, could not catch my breath.
Amazing.
Now, if you want to fast forward to where I'm at, I go to cardiac rehab and I run for a minute 30 and then walk for 3 minutes for an upward of 30 minutes.
So that's where you're at right now. You are a 4.5 minutes, literally, on the treadmill. That's it. That's all that you can do because you cannot breathe after that.
I'm actually pretty good afterwards. They don't want to press me too hard because they're worried I'll go backwards. Because I tried to run on my own once before I was cleared to run because I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm feeling good. I'm just going to test it out, see what happens. That was a horrible decision. I felt awful. And I was laying on the couch for the next like 3 days, like unable to move again. So any doctor, anybody has approached you to say, okay, let's try to figure it out. Okay, what can we do to make you feel better? Because you're not the only one, based on the interview that I saw, you're not the only one feeling this way, and they have no answers at all. They have no idea.
They have no idea, like I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but blood tests or something that your mom probably is on top of it, but anything, any science up there that can study what's going on with you.
I've enrolled personally in some COVID long hauler studies. I'm in this one that's taking place in Britain, and it's about fatigue. It's a fatigue study. And COVID long haulers, and they sent me a packet on stuff that could help with your fatigue. And then I filled out a survey a couple of weeks later to see if it helped or not. I found it very helpful. But right now everything's in research phase. They have not a whole lot. There's COVID long hauler clinics that have opened up in certain areas. But there's not a whole lot that they can do that they know that will help. Like there's not one remedy that goes, this will solve you.
So you don't have a time frame. You don't have like, okay, I'm gonna feel better next month. You know, I'm gonna be able to, you know, maybe walk 10 minutes instead of 4 minutes and a half. No, nothing.
There's no
answers.
That timeline. Which is weird because I'm used to operating off timelines for track. Correct. Right? Like, okay, in like 3 months' time, I want to be fit enough to do X, Y, and Z. Correct. So now it's a lot more of what can I do today, and stuff like that. So and it's a lot more.
How do you feel how do you feel mentally? Like inside of you, I'm sorry to ask you that, but how do you feel, inside mentally?
There are some days that are better than others, obviously. It has been very challenging because all of the things that I identify as, I can no longer do. So it's definitely like, I don't feel like I know what I'm doing or like even like who I am, because all those things, which is natural after you graduate from college, like you're used to be like a student athlete, you're used to be like a teammate, and I'm not any of those things anymore just because I graduated. So those two things were leaving anyway, but on top of not being able to be active and independent, has made it very, very difficult. I actually go to counseling like once a week, once every 2 weeks. And I found it very helpful. Okay. I'm in a lot better mood afterwards, just because I'm able to talk about things without feeling like I'm being a burden on like my family and like always complaining, which is not the case. And I'm aware of that, but sometimes it can feel that way. So like, it's nice to have like another option who's a third party who will listen no matter what. Definitely. So I found counseling to be very helpful for that. But I think because I was injured, I was better prepared for this than I would have been if I hadn't been so injured my junior and senior year of high school.
So being a student athlete probably help you mentally to something like this, to this unfortunately situation that you.
I think it prepared me very, very well, because Bloom he would always ask me, how do you eat an elephant? And I would say 1 bite at a time. So that's kind of how I've approached this.
Step by step, definitely.
One little movement at a time. And I found that to be a wonderful mindset. And I've applied that mindset throughout college because that's how Bloom showed it. You know what I mean? So he did a wonderful job preparing me for all of life obstacles.
The mindset, you're stronger right now because of it.
Like I had to be mentally on my game. Definitely. Even when I was like in college, having to like, I don't know, like take a test and then right away go back out and train. Like you have to be able to separate your mind and like focus in this area and then be able to go back and focus in this area and be able to like prioritize yourself in different aspects. And I feel like that, and because I was so injured, I have experienced not running before. I've experienced what it feels like to not be able to exercise the way you want to. So I feel like for me, like that feeling isn't new. Like, and I know how to cope with it. I know I have other coping mechanisms because of it. If this was my first time never being able to exercise and move, I would probably feel very, very crushed by the fact that I can't, because running is a stress reliever for me. Like that's how I process my emotions. Like I would have a long run once a week, and you would sit or like run with your friends and be able to talk about anything for an hour to an hour and a half, like undistracted, no phones, all one-on-one. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I like bikes. I used to run. I don't, like I said, I'm not a fan. I run 20 minutes and I'm done. I'm like, but I do bikes, and when I do the bikes, I do one every other day. I go out in my bike and I do probably 30 miles, 50 miles on the bike. But that's the time where it's like, okay, mentally free. It's me, myself, and I.
Exactly.
That's pretty much how you felt, right?
Yeah. And running was that outlet. You're angry about something, do a hard run. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would process stuff. And now I don't have that outlet. And working out was always a really good stress reliever for me in general. So, and I have experienced what it's like without it. And I know that there's other ways for me to handle my stress and handle my discomfort by like talking to people or journaling and stuff like that. So,
and have you reached any other long haulers, athletes? Have you get in touch with some of them, or
yeah?
I mean, and they are going through the same process pretty much.
Yeah. After the HBO interview, I actually had a lot of people reach out, and I'm so glad they did, because one of the girls' names is Becca, and she was telling me, like, what did you try when you were having this, this, and this? And I was like, oh,
you knew already what happened.
And she's like, okay, I'll ask my doctor about them. And then she found she's going to this like long hauler clinic. And I was like, if you find it helpful, like, please let me know. Like, I will go join you there. Like, you know what I mean? So It's actually been really nice to be able to connect with people like one-on-one like that. And they understand what it feels like. I'm in a fortunate situation where like my family believed me when I said I wasn't feeling well, and that I wasn't just having an anxiety attack because my heart rate was high, or because that's what happens with a lot of people when they go in is, oh, it's just anxiety. Like, everything's fine. You're fine. It's in your head. I never experienced that. I was very, very fortunate. A lot of people do not have that benefit, and they have to go to work right away, and they have to suck it up and feel like you're dying and go take care of kids. I don't have those responsibilities, and other people do. And I just think that being able to talk to someone and relate, like, I understand how you feel, can be very, very helpful for others and myself. So there's like Facebook groups for long haulers. And I found them, I looked at them when I first got sick, and it was way too overwhelming for me.
Okay.
Because they were like, I've been sick for like, what they say, like 6 months, and I'm not improving. And I was like, I can't look at that.
Definitely.
I cannot.
It's not helping
I can't get that far. Yeah. I was like, I'm on month 2. I'm like, I need to know it gets better, and I can't look at this and know that it gets better. So I actually didn't go on the Facebooks and I like groups and stuff like that. I'm on there, but I don't really check them anymore. I mostly talk to the people one-on-one, and I find that way more helpful for me personally, and hopefully for them.
That's important. Hopefully they get to listen to this, episode and understand this. It's probably better to, instead of putting negative stuff in occasions, just, like, I'm not feeling well for 6 months. That's not helping. That's not helping, for any of you guys.
People who have been sick for 6 months really resonated with that. So like, it's hard because it's like such a wide variety of people being sick. Like, I was month 2 looking at these things, and these people have been on there for 6 months already. And there's other people who have been on there for longer, and we're like, don't worry, like, this part gets better at X, Y, and Z. And some people were like, well, I was getting better, and then I felt way worse again. And I was just like, I'm not like, if I looked at it now, I'd probably find a lot more like relatability to it and like really understand and like feel like I could like gain helpfulness from it. But at the time, it wasn't helpful for me. So I stopped using them.
See, this is important because, we are in my case, thank God we haven't had any COVID in my household. I mean, my mom is here with me, and my kids and my wife. Thank God we're good. My brother had it for, I didn't see my brother for probably a month and a half. By the end of December, we got together, and then we got in a family reunion. And then from there, my brother didn't feel well, and his girlfriend didn't feel well. Do the test, come out positive. We didn't see them, for a month and a half, literally.
Yeah.
But they're good now. I mean, they feel good.
That's
but
good.
One of the things that bothers me the most is, in HBO, we saw that interview, and I saw some guys. I don't know if it's that one episode or the one before. And it's this guy in California just doing, football showcases all over the place. And he doesn't care, he doesn't care. And he's like, I don't mind about it. And he's looking for another type of land where it's a native land. That way they don't, the law doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's your thoughts about this type of approach from coaches? Even you see coaches and, at the collegiate level, they're laughing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that bothers me personally, myself, bothers me.
Definitely bothers me. Just because I feel like, because I am, let's say I decided to take a 5th year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would still be considered an athlete, but I would be a cardiac cripple athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it affected one person, you just don't know how COVID will attack you personally.
Mm-hmm.
It hits everybody differently.
Mm-hmm.
It attacks in its own weird way.
Mm-hmm.
It inflames some people, and other people have no problems, and we don't know why yet. Because I had no previous problems. I was very, very fit, very, very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
No underlying diseases that were hidden. I should not have responded the way I did, but my body did. And that could be their athlete. And the part that bugs me is, like, it's one thing to put yourself in harm's way, but to put those athletes who look up to you in harm's way bothers me, because I know for a fact, if any of my coaches said, hey, let's go do this, this, and this, I would have said, okay, like, they wouldn't cause me harm. Like, they wouldn't do that. But if they're doing it intentionally, I don't know. It bothers me, because they should be looking for their health and wellness.
Correct.
Before all else. And I don't mind, like, those one-on-one, like, meetings with coaches and athletes, or like really small groups of people. I think that's good for kids. They need to get out there. They need to be able to exercise and do their sport. And I think that's important, but there's a way to do it safely. And I think that should be the first priority, even if it is in small groups of 5 with the coach there, then that's fine. And you have a mask on.
Correct.
It sucks to work out in a mask, but it can be done. I do it all the time. And it's annoying at first, but honestly, you get used to it. It's not as hindering as they say. I can still breathe. I can still get air in my lungs, and I have a breathing problem. So if I can get air in, you probably can too.
You probably can, without question. Yeah, I've been talking to some coaches in some episodes, and I asked them about that, because I say, some of the people is respecting very well, the restrictions, and some of the people is respecting the distance. And I say, I have an athlete who hasn't done any type of video because of it, because of COVID, because, and the coaches, most of the coaches will say to me, they can do a video at home. They can keep practicing at home, in the garage. They can do a swing, in baseball, let's say, or on the patio. They can do a swing in the, they can throw the ball. I can see. So there is many other research that we can do, or in order for the athletes to keep healthy, practicing, not stopping, because that's not the idea to stop, but because I don't stop, but like, there is other ways instead of risking, people's life, because it's serious. I mean, look at you. I mean, when I saw you on HBO, I'm like, I need to talk to Natalie, because it is important to people to get to know, even though that I don't have a big audience, like HBO, but still,
I think it's important for people to understand, like, you don't know how your body's going to respond. And I don't want to see anyone else turn out like me, especially a young athlete who has I'm lucky. I've had a career. I wasn't stopped before mine started. And I've had it feel like that when I was in high school. Like, I know how that feels. Like, you have all of this untapped potential just left hanging. I mean, I still feel that way a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I got my whole season taken away, but that feeling is valid to like know that like you do have all this stuff left. And I think people should just keep training and working when they can and where they can, that's safely, because you don't want to end up like me and not be able to do it for who knows how long.
Correct. And then Natalie, tell me something. I mean, what are you doing on a daily basis now? Let's jump into something different. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What is your plans? What are you working in it right now? Oh.
I actually just started working. I'm really excited about it.
Excellent.
I have so one of the things COVID causes is brain fog. And mine's actually been improving a ton because I've been doing a lot of mental exercises to try and fight it, I guess is the word. But that's something I've been really trying to do. So I started reading again in December just to try and get like, because I kept forgetting things. For example, where was I going? Oh, I was driving to the airport to pick up David and I forgot where I was going. Like I totally missed the exit, just kept driving. And I ended up out like way past it, going like I was going towards my friend's house. And I was like, why am I driving to Jessica's house? Like, it was just like, oh, I know where I'm going, Jessica's house. And then I was like, no, I'm not. I was supposed to be going to get David from the airport. Like, why did I miss that exit? Like, what the heck? So then I like pulled over and like put the directions in my phone because I did it a second time on the way out there. Like, I was like, oh, I'll just turn right and like loop back.
Wow.
And I totally missed the turn again. And I was like, okay, clearly my brain is not remembering what I'm doing. So it was very, very, very weird feeling to be like, oh, I don't know what I was doing. Like I'll have stuff in the kitchen, I'll be going to put away and I'll be holding the bowl. Like, where was I going with this again? I don't remember. So that's the side of COVID that like is weird to me. Cause like, it's one thing to combat like physical stuff, but like to like really work with the brain has been like really challenging. So I started rereading like old books, like Harry Potter, for example, I reread just to like, if I forgot something, like it was like I was reading the book for the first time because I'd be like, oh, what happened again? But like I've read the story so many times that like I knew from the past ish. So it wasn't that big of a deal if I forgot stuff. And then in January, I started reading new books and that's been really helpful. So I think doing brain activities.
That helps to probably reconnect. If you want.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I felt like it's like there's cobwebs in my brain kind of feeling. Like everything's just like buffering or like a little bit slower than usual. And I did tennis yesterday with my mom and dad. And the instructor gave like, he was like, okay, I'm gonna make some of the stuff like a mental challenge for you because he knew like what I've been going through. And so he was like, I'll make it so that like this time hit the ball out of the air instead of once it hits the ground. So like he'd switch it up so that I had to use my brain and like really think about what I was doing. So I've been doing stuff like that to try and like sharpen my brain a little bit. So I just started work again. I'm working for Signature Home Health and I'm helping to start a new program for like at-home monitoring system for patients. It's Vivify. And basically you get like a packet of like a scale, a tablet, a pulse oximeter, a blood pressure cuff, and some other stuff you could need to like check your vitals at home. And then you go through the iPad and you answer all your questions, you take your vitals, it tells you exactly how to do it. And then all that information gets sent to Vivify like online and I can check their vitals and make sure everything's normal and healthy. And then you can either send them to a nurse or have the doctor go out and see them. And it'll be a really good like at-home monitoring system for these patients who maybe don't want to go into the hospital or, you know what I mean? So I'm helping set that up and I'm only working right now like 5 to 10 hours a week. And I'm hoping to like slowly, because we're still rolling it out like really slowly. So it's not like there's a lot of stuff to do yet for it. So I'm hoping to like slowly work up my workload until I'm able to maybe work there. And I really want to get back to my casting job because I really like that.
So that you casting job, what do you mean with that?
Before I got sick, I worked at Slocum, which is an orthopedic center. and I was a cast tech. So I was the person who put casts on everybody and like took them off and like put splints on, and like I loved it.
You did.
It's like the arts and crafts of the medical field. It was awesome.
That's very good. But your major is in sports science, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you have anything in mind, like working with sports, or what do you have?
So my major was sports science with an emphasis in kinesiology.
Kinesiology. Okay.
And which is basically like how the body moves, why it moves, which is what I find extremely fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So I
like
actually
if you get injured, you can help me. Pretty much.
Yes. So I found that passion through my athletic trainers. Honestly, I volunteered in there all the time, and I would just hang out and like follow them around and be like, okay, like how do you do this? Like, why do you do that? I just loved it. So I applied to PA schools, which is something that I find really fascinating. And I kind of want to go into like orthopedics or something, because orthopedics is a lot more like movement oriented. And it's really interesting to me how like
with kids
fits together.
With kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be fascinating. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place.
See, I'll give you a quick story on myself with my son.
Please
I have two kids. I have Rocco, which is 10 years old, extremely fast, a good athlete. He plays soccer and he loves parkour nowadays. And I have Marcus, which is 2.5 years. Now, when we took Rocco to the doctor, because we see that his feet work when he runs, tends to
falls
in, like falls in. So we took him to a specialist and check it out, orthopedist, and see, hey, check his legs, the size of his bones, everything is okay. Yeah. And the answer for the doctor says, if you want your kid to be fast, let him be like it is. Do not move your bones. Do not move anything. And we did. I mean, we follow his instruction, and he's very fast. I mean, he's still, he's not as much as before, but he still kind of put it in, but he's still fast. So I don't know if that was supposed to. He's one of the best here in Phoenix. So I don't know. So let's leave it like that. So he is like that. We never put anything on on his feet. Those boots or shoes that they create. So yeah, my son is is very athletic. So I'm like, no, I want him to be quick. So that's the love of, that's what you like to do the most, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like orthopedics, and I really like, my mom's a family practice PA, so I found also that pretty interesting as well. So I'm just kind of, I don't know, going with the flow, see if I get into schools. But yeah, that's kind of okay, excellent.
Well, I think in the future, have to be bright with you. You have to, because you have a good soul. You have a beautiful soul, right? And I can see it, right away. I think you touched me right away as soon as I saw you in HBO.
Oh, thank you.
I talked to my wife and I say, no, I need to talk to Natalie. And that's exactly, as soon as I send you the text, I finished the story in HBO. I finished the episode. I'm like, no, I have to reach her, because this is beautiful. This is, you inspiring me. I think you have a future in front of you without, no problem. I hope, soon enough, you call me and say, Ronnie, I'm fine.
I would love to make that phone call.
I
definitely think I'm improving, though. Like,
excellent.
Quite a lot. I'm making good steps.
Well, I love that you have, because you used to do it back, when you were injured in the school, and, little by little, step by step, like the elephant, you have a very good sample right there, when your coach told you how you eat an elephant.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Just keep it going like that. I think you have, mindset. Your mindset is there. I have no doubt that your mindset is keeping you strong, and it's gonna get you stronger, for the future. You only right now? 24?
23.
23. No.
Just turned. Yep.
Yeah,
well,
excellent.
not just turned, it's been a month now, but
A month.
yeah.
Excellent. Well, Natalie, I want to thank you. I want to share this with anyone that I can,
Yes, please do.
that way people understand where the process is. I hope, I know your family is there with you, helping you and give you support, which is extremely important. Mom seems like if she's very dedicated.
Very.
So say hi for me, please.
I will.
And I know that, I'm here. We're here for anything you need. You let me know. We work with student athletes, and if it's anything that you want to say to the student athletes, you want to reach out to student athletes, I'll be more than happy to share that. On that end. We are a small company, but we have all the good intentions for the future athletes, and for the next generation, which is the important part. Like I have my kids, and I want them to make sure that they don't get in debt, because it's important, like you saying in the beginning of the conversation, is you don't want to get too much in debt, because there was too much money, a lot of loans in order for you to go to college. And that's what we do. We help athletes trying to save money as much as we can.
Yeah. And finding a little home.
And finding a home, exactly. Like
yes.
You did.
That's what it feels like, is finding a home.
That's good. Well, thank you so very much, Natalie. Like I said, I really appreciate everything you did right now, this hour 20 minutes that we have, conversation. Thank you so very much.